Hello and welcome to the 13th episode of Tailoring in Conversation. In this series, I'll be talking to tailors from all around the globe to gain a better insight into their worlds. My guest for today is Sven Krolczik. Sven is a bespoke tailor based in Kassel, Germany, who officially started his business in 2019. Now, prior to that, he spent many years learning tailoring from books through trial and error up until the point that he was ready to do tailoring for a living as a professional. Sven also has a fine arts background, which helped him through navigating his way in the difficult process of trial and error. And so we're going to talk about that and many other things in our conversation right now. Sven, thank you so much for making the time and being here at this time. I have a lot of questions to ask you. I'd like to know pretty much everything that you've been doing so far and how you've been doing it. And I look forward to our conversation.
Hi, nice to meet you in person.
Nice to meet you too in person. One thing I'd like to know is if me and you were 10 years old, and we were friends,
Yeah.
and we were playing outside or inside or wherever, what was it that we were doing? Which friend were you at 10 years old?
Probably the same I am now, but only 10 years old. Well, difficult to answer this question because it's a rather paradox thing. Because evaluating the past on the basis of your actual it's paradox, you know. I say say come over here and find out. I'm probably the same person I am right now. I'm a bit shy, and I don't like crowded places that much.
Mm-hmm.
So that did not change during the years. So probably this is one basic element. I'm a bit shy, not shy.
Did you usually kind of like, did you have a big group of friends, or was it you most of the time just doing your own thing, making whatever you were doing?
Well, I think it's the average 4 to 5, 3 to 4 good friends, or maybe a few more that sometimes share your company. But real friends, 3 to 4 maybe.
Yeah.
And this changed nowadays. It's, you know, when you grow up, your friends leave and they move to other cities. So let's say I have 1 or 2 real friends now. Right.
Well, what sort of interests did you have at that age? Did you have anything that would give some hints, as in this boy is going to be a tailor, or was it like, were you like this physics genius that ended up being a tailor?
It was completely different, really. I once told you that before I got into tailoring, I went to university and I went to an art academy. So I was really interested in painting and drawing. So I was drawing all school books were full of drawings, and I actually didn't draw all day long. And later, at the age of 14, at the age of 12, really, I started skateboarding, which took me a long time to practice. And so I was a typical skateboarding guy, just going out.
Did you do ramps or did you do street skating?
Yeah. Most street and half pipes later. When I grew up, I went to smaller half pipes, not the huge ones. These 2.5, 3 meters half pipes.
Right. Who was your hero? Who was your skateboard hero?
My skateboard hero. There's old Time Machine videos with. I have to think about that again. It's a long time ago. It definitely was not Tony Hawk.
Sure.
It was, who was that guy with the Toy Machine guy who? Oh, I have to think about the names again. Jamie Thomas. Jamie Thomas was one of my.
Jamie Thomas.
Jamie Thomas was one of my heroes, doing these huge stairs and almost incredible things. Of course, in skateboard videos, you see only the good. The fail is just a short part at the end.
Yeah.
That's the problem when you're young. You're trying to do the same things again and again, and you don't see all the fails and fails.
Yeah. The
So
pain.
Jamie Thomas
Really.
was one of my heroes.
Okay. How did you get into skateboarding? Was it just like
That
outside
was
influence,
coming.
or was it a need from within?
I grew up in a very, very rural area. I mean, in the western part of Germany, down, it's quite in an area called Eifel. Actually, it's in a volcanic Eifel. It's a city about 6,000 inhabitants, and I
Right.
grew up in a suburb. It's a small village about 200 inhabitants. So we knew each other. And once there was one with a skateboard, that was kind of that was the fashion. So we started.
Right.
And of course, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I used to skate as well, which was just loved it, absolutely loved it. But
Yeah.
how do you what sort of painting did you pursue when you went to the art academy? Was it like realistic painting or abstract, impressionist?
I started with realistic paintings, and I've been doing graffiti 10 years before, and I've been pretty good. I'm pretty known, but I came to a point when there was no progress anymore. When you come to that point of photorealistic paintings, this is only technique, and it's always repetition, and it's getting dull because there's nothing new, nothing unexpected anymore. So that was the basis of which I went to university, and I started with some kind of realistic, and I started to. When you go to university, you experiment a lot, or when you go to an art academy, not the university, which is you go to an art academy and you try a lot of things, and this is something really great about Kassel. This is interdisciplinary. Is it the right word? I hope so.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in photography, you go to the studio, or if you're interested in making books or something, you had all kind of studios there, but you had to be interested to go. No one's forcing you to go there. So it's your intrinsic motivation that forces you to go to whatever you want to do. So I started with this realistic paintings, and it took me years to understand that I'm not a realistic painter. I'm more an abstract painter, and it took me even more years to understand that I'm not a painter at all.
Right. How did you come to that conclusion?
It's been a long process, actually. It's like well, it's like there's a certain point there was some kind of crossroad where I had to decide what to do, and this was quite at the end of my studies. So I studied painting at the art academy, and parallel to that, painting and English as a foreign language teaching at the university. So at the very first semester at university, teachers told us, lots of people break or just quit their studies because they realize it's not what they want to do. And we always said, we're not that kind of people, we're not that kind of guys. I studied about 19 or 20 semesters, and it's a long time. And I realized at the end of my studies that I should do something completely different. So I decided to finish university, to get my degree, and to do something completely different then.
Right. Did you know anything about tailoring at that time before you started tailoring?
Yeah, I started university at 2005, 2006, and the second year at university I started tailoring. It was the time. It was a bit selfish because I did not find any garments that fit or that I liked. Because when you study, normally you don't have that much money. And I had to, before I went to university, I worked 1.5 years in a factory. So I had to I saved a bit of money, and I started my studies. And of course you have to save money somewhere. You can't buy high exclusive clothings. And all the things of the rag I found in the stores was horrible to me. I have a bit of a seat, so this is maybe this is a reason maybe this is also a reason I bought my first domestic sewing machine for about 90 euro, and I started to sew with that one. And this is how things started. I started to sew my first trousers, and then I thought about there must be something more. I thought I started buying books, more books, more literature. And after a few years, I realized I was studying something completely different than the thing I was studying at the moment. So
yes, right. So, did you have anyone that could guide you in some direction, or was it like you are out on your own, man?
no, I was completely alone. And even today, it sometimes feels like I sometimes feel like being on an Arctic outpost. Maybe once there is some sartorial conversation like this one, it's like the mail or postal plane coming in, something like that. I was completely on my own, but I really enjoyed it. It was a time of fun and huge disappointment. It's a pain and gain thing, you know. But this is the fundament of what I'm doing now. So I had no teacher, though I sometimes wish I had someone guiding me or looking above my shoulder. But it's the same as your question, who would I be at the age of 10? If I had someone, I would not be sitting here like this. I had to develop everything on my own. I had to experiment a lot, and I paid a lot of money. I wasted so much material, so many clothes. It took me so much sweat.
I can imagine. What this so up until today, how long has it been that you've been tailoring? Let's say professionally, on and off.
So 2007, maybe 2000. Well, I started in 2007, 2008, and let's say 2010, 11, 12. It began to be more professional because I had the books, I had the resources to look at. I figured out how things work. But in a very small environment, because I had a single room flat, and after years this flat was flooded with patterns, with waste of cloth, with a sewing machine and an iron. And a single room apartment is not that big.
No,
so
that's true.
I was sitting on the floor cutting, I was sitting on the bed, so that was how I started.
Tell us a little bit about how it kind of like how you built it up, because I can imagine if you want to do something as complicated as tailoring can be, and also inaccessible. That's the other thing, you know. It's all well that it's complicated, but if there are like tons of people around you doing it, you could ask your way forward. But if it's complicated and there is not a lot of resources, how did you approach it? Where did you start? What were the first things that you developed? Kind of.
Well, the very first start was, as I told you, I did not find the things I wanted to wear. So I started, of course, this was some kind of experiment. And after a while, wait a second, I bought my first book, which is pretty common and well known in German, which is this one. Can you see it?
Yes.
This is edition number 15. Now I have all editions available. But anyway, I just collected it now. But this was the first book, and it's pretty good because during that time, it's from 1954. They gave you some advice. This, for example, is how to sew and bias the shoulder.
Right. This is, I think, from this. There are some images, I think, from this book in German on the internet. Correct? It's like shows you how to put on a collar.
There was this very famous cotton tailor thing where everyone just flooded with, which was great because I gave tips too. You know, the internet was one of the best things that could happen. So I had the chance to watch other people, and of course, learning is always imitating or copying in some kind of.
Yes.
No, it's not bad to do that, because by copying and trying to copy things, you find out how it works, or you don't have to find another way to.
Yeah. Well, what I want to ask, I have tons of questions. So the first question is, you start. It seems to me, at least, correct me if I'm wrong. You started right off going into books. Is that correct? From the very beginning.
Yeah. After my third trouser, yeah.
Okay, so the trousers, you made 3 trousers before you went into books.
2 or 3 trousers, yeah.
2 or 3 trousers. Okay.
Without a real pattern.
So what did you opened up old trousers and copied it on a new fabric, or how did you do that?
No, you don't. I did not have to open them up. You just look at them and you think this should be that way, or this. So you try.
You just drafted like by eye.
Yeah, it's a bit by eye. Yeah, draping.
Right.
Just
getting
a feeling of what it is.
Yeah.
Cloth is something very special. It reacts to. You just wanted to get a feeling of what it is. So I started off with that.
So
and then of course the internet. Huh?
Yeah, please continue.
Of course, the internet. I told you, you have the opportunity to watch several pages or to watch other tailors around the globe, how they do things, how they tailor, and then you, at a certain point, I started to, this sounds pretty interesting. Let's start it. Let's get it. So I slowly got into it, and parallel to this, I bought the first book, then I bought the second book, the third book, magazines. And now I have a huge collection of books. I'm pretty sure I cannot read them all. I have read lots of, but after a while you find out it's all the same, but in other words, and at least you have to find out your own way. So this is what I try to do.
Yeah. Well, I guess what the good thing is, when you have spent enough time looking at books and you've also tried things out, you manage to extract the core of what all of the books say in one simple kind of like set of fundamentals that is true on all different ways and systems,
I do see parallels to the work at the Art Academy, because it is a bit like finding a position. You know what I mean? It's a bit like you start and the very first drafts and the very first things I made were of the book, and after a while I started to question them. The very first garments I just made them, and I thought this is the way it is done. And after a while I started to question this. For example, I give you an example. During the 50s, all these German books tell you the front dart, the chest dart, mustn't be suppressed more than 1 centimeter in total. Because this will lead you to diagonal drags and things like that. This applies to 1950s cloth and style. Yes, it might apply, but today it's not applying to the modern slim fit. You can do more than this, but you have to find out. If you stick to this, it will be a boxy thing. You know what I mean?
Yes.
After a while, I started to question what was written, and I started to experiment. Of course, this was sometimes misleading, and I had a lot of fails. But after a while, I found another way to do it, or another way, and this is how I still try to do it today. So the pattern I use is not from this book or that book. It's all this, and I'm pretty sure most tailors do today. It's all the things I consider for my work considered to be good at the moment. Maybe they change later, but at the moment I consider them to be good. I have a mixture of different styles and patterns and systems. And,
So a couple of questions based on that, because you already went into the direction of the Art Academy. What I wanted to ask is, how did the Art Academy background that you have and your interest in, because if you're drawing all day long, you're used to looking at lines, shapes, geometry, space, perspective,
composition.
All of that, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, composition. So how do you think that helped you to navigate through the books, but also through the practical side of tailoring, and that it allowed you to, when I assume that when you make your ever first jacket, you don't know what you're looking at. You just went through like pain, and all you're seeing is like, it's finished, finally, But then, obviously, if you want to improve it, then you need to take a closer look, start to look at this and that. How did the arts background help you with that, if it did at all?
Okay. Example from painting. If you go to an exhibition and you see all the paintings from one painter exposed there, this is only a small amount of paintings you see. The other paintings you don't see. The same. When I was painting, I made 50 paintings. 2 out of 50 I was able to show the gallery because I liked them, or I accepted them the way they are, the way they were. Because once it's finished, it's not your painting anymore. You have to start another one because it's another question. The same it's a bit the same with this one, because I painted a painting. I disliked it, turned it around for about 2, 3, 4 weeks, a month, 2 months. And after a few months, I looked at it again, and I got a new access to it. The same with this one. I have so many corpses in some kind of packages, but sometimes after years, I think, oh yeah, that was a good attempt. Let's finish this one. Let's go on here again. And so, there is some kind of parallel, but yeah, that is actually parallel, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, would you say that, because you say, you make 50 paintings and then you are only accepting, that's, but I like the word you use. You say, I only accepted 2. So, because, for example, sometimes I talk to people and there is a conversation of, Instagram, social media, people only show you what they want you to see, right? Okay. But for me, that's slightly different. Like, only showing what you want other people to see is slightly different than these are the only 2 paintings that I accept, right? Because the other one is for the others, and the second one is for you, right? So,
it's not.
What do you think?
It's actually for me, because it's the study itself is the best thing that happened to me, that could happen to me, because it's more self-studying. You learn a lot about yourself, because what you do is when you expose a work of yours to others, you expose yourself. You have to stand criticism, which is criticism to yourself, and this is pretty hard sometimes. But you get a bit of maybe you get a bit to understand what you're doing, or maybe you get a bit of understanding of who you are. But it's the best thing I can have. It's a self-study at the end. You learn a lot of things about yourself. I am, for example, not resilient. Really, I'm not.
In what way?
In any way. If anything, maybe I'm German, I don't know. If anything is just out of the order or just out of my plan, this drives me mad. And something very bad with tailoring, if you're establishing your own business.
Things going wrong all the time.
Yes. Many times. But of course, in failing, you find new ways. But you learn, as I said, you learn a lot of things about yourself. And this is probably the best thing about all these years of studying. At the end, that's what I said. Once I made a painting and it's been finished, and the question was either solved or not. If it was not solved, I continued with another painting. If it was solved, I needed a new question, and I started something completely new. Once the painting was finished, it wasn't my painting anymore. It was done. That's something pretty difficult for many people to understand, because it's not my painting anymore. It's simply a painting.
Yes, it has its own life now.
Yes, and it's not there. It's always, nowadays it's not one access. It's in many doors that give access to some kind of artwork, and yeah, I like them all. And the same with these things I do now. I try different styles, different shapes, different methods, and I still try them. If I just keep doing the things again and again the way I developed them, it's getting dull. That's the same with these graffiti things, or these photorealistic paintings. It's just techniques. You just know how to build up a painting, how to do this and that, how to apply this color to this to achieve some kind of effect.
Yeah.
If you just continue doing this again and again, it's like a machine that's getting dull. And this is the reason I chose this boat, because I see, or I have seen, I do still see lots of tailors, especially in Germany, who deliver garments that look like machine made, because they are so perfect, precise, that they're completely dull. This is my very personal point of view. It's you can question that, and it's really nice to question that, but it's that's my very personal point of view. So I love, and that's why I am putting so much of handwork in these garments. I love I love seeing the handwork. I love the outcome. It's definitely something you see, and it gives your garment some kind of soul, maybe. And if you just and it's really the imperfection that makes it a bit better for me, or not better. Better is the wrong word. That makes it more acceptable. Is the right? I can accept it the way I do it right now. Maybe let's wait 10 years. Let's wait and see. But at the moment, I would put as much handwork in it as I can do, and this gives some kind of soul to the garment. Hopefully.
Well, it seems as if from the looks of it, you approach tailoring definitely from an artist's perspective, and what you say also, which I like, is as soon as things become perhaps too technical and they turn into formulas, which just gives you like predictable results, and things start to look predictable, it just dies off. It becomes really a soulless kind of thing.
Of course. I spoke to many tailors, and some of them said, "Oh, it's a lot of repetition," and of course it is repetition. But you can modify the way you do it, or you can, after a while, think of trying other methods just to make it not a repetition, because repetitions, to me, really they become dull, really dull after a while. So even now, after years of tailoring, it's not that much repetition, because one time I try this and I try another pattern system, or another advice from an old from a book that is 150 years old. Of course, this does not apply to an 8 or 9 oz fabric, so I have to find other ways to do it. For example, in all these garments, even if it is a 7 oz fabric, I do not use any glue, not at all. No, not a single. I see many tailors using, especially pocket mouth, a piece of glued interfacing in the back, so that this very thin, fragile fabric does not fray out or something like that. I don't do this. It takes me longer. I'm very from a commercial point of view, I'm sometimes not that efficient. But this is my position. It takes longer, but I do it all by hand without any glue. And this is, I think one can see it at the end. Even if there are tiny imperfections, which make it really interesting for me.
Yeah.
This is when you're trying out,
when you're trying out different systems, and sometimes you slightly change this method or this part or this order of doing things. There is a lot of tailors, at least I'm sure everywhere in the world. I speak for the experiences I had in the UK. There are a lot of tailors that say you need to have a system of making, of how you make, right? Stick to that system. That will help you to be like efficient, to know what you're doing, to keep things consistent, and you learn that system, maybe fine tune it here and there, and you do it for the rest of your life, right? Now, I can imagine that you having an artist's perspective would just die off in that system because you're like, man, this is too repetitive, boring, don't want to, bye bye. So how, if, because I know that people watching this would like to know your opinion on this because you have that perspective, right? Not many people have that perspective. How does that work for you? If you, for example, one day you make a jacket in this method, tomorrow you make a jacket in another method, you enjoy doing that, you explore things, you learn a lot of new things, you discover things, and at the same time you admit sometimes maybe it's not always as efficient as doing the same thing every day the whole time, right? How do you find the balance, and how does that work compared to this one way of just doing it for the rest of your life?
Well, I'm a bad salesman, and I think from a salesman's perspective, this efficiency is really important because if you, of course you want to earn a bit of money with this because you have to live somehow. And I have two children, and of course they want some new toys and clothes. But I experience tailors looking more on the money side than on the tailoring side. So if, from this point of perspective, it makes sense to be efficient, to be German is rational. I don't know if this exists in English too. You have to be quick, you have to be fast, you have to know but blind by heart what you're doing. And as I said, this is the point where it gets dull. But from this salesman perspective, if you want to have a rich business, then maybe this is the way you should work. But you have to think about that this is, as I think, leading to some kind of, then it's a machine. You're like a machine. This is no progress anymore. It's just, that's what I mean with dull. It's repetition, earning money. And at the end you have a suit that looks like all the suits you find in the shopping windows, just with a bespoke label inside. And this is something I would like to admit. I would like to. I don't want it.
Yeah. How would you, if someone would say, if someone would say, hey Sven, why should I? What's the best thing that I would get out of working in different methods from time to time? What would you say that is?
The best
most
thing,
important thing, yeah.
The experience. Definitely. Because it's a whole lot of fun to try new things, and you learn a lot more. I am pretty sure you learn a lot more than repeating the things your teacher or your master tells you. Because, as I said, you start questioning things after a while. First you repeat, and then you start questioning these. And this is where it becomes really interesting. It's totally a whole lot of sweat. It's really disappointing. But another parallel maybe to painting, to this process of finding some kind of position, is a lot of disappointment. Just a lot of this. It's not like the old Russian schools or something like, oh, you have to be disappointed to no. But if it is a self-motivated, intrinsic thing, then you will accept this disappointment, because it just drives you on and on. You can't just stop. And it's the same with me. Even if when I'm at home at the evening or at the night or in the morning, sometimes my wife looks at me and says, "You're not here." I am here at the studio with my thoughts, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. Of course, if you have a family, you have to have a cut somewhere. But this is something that follows me through all my life situations, and this definitely comes from it's the intrinsic thing, I think.
Yeah.
definitely. And this is what keeps me exploring so many things, or what keeps of course I have some things that work good for me and I keep doing them, but after a while I try to do something else, or but the main thing is really that this is that I try to keep the thing a bit vivid,
Yes.
I
Yeah.
mean by
Yeah.
that. So
Well, I think, one of the things that I like a lot about an artistic approach is that, I mean, at least if it's done well, is when you don't necessarily have a formula to begin with, like you say, you have to explore a little bit more, but you're also facing problems that you didn't anticipate or have never solved before. And
of
so you
course.
benefit, right? So you benefit from accidents that actually happen to present something to you that you could then extract and take on board to the next one. And it's the unpredictability, right, that makes it fun and diverse in the experience. This is the one thing you say, right? You say experience, and the same people say the people who do like every day the same thing, they are also saying experience. But I think what you probably mean is more like diverse experience rather than just experience. Because someone says,
No,
I've been
yeah,
doing this one thing for 40 years. I have a lot of experience. But then someone
yeah.
else says, I've done 40,000 things in 1 year, and that's a different experience, you see? So, right.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's a bit like in arts. You have also this what is art is a very, very difficult question today, because you have many answers to this question. And one of these answers is, you see these people at the museum and they say, why is it here? Because I can do the same. This is from a handcraft point of position, or a point of view, I think. But now it's not always about the I can do the same thing position. It's just, I think you're right with this diverse experience. Yeah, maybe this is good. Maybe this is good addition to this.
I mean, it could be a different word as well, but I think it's not just experience. It's a particular kind of experience. I enjoy doing. I pretty much enjoy. I struggled with this a lot. When I was apprenticing, and this is a question I want to ask you as well. Whether it's to do with temperament or calculated way of just learning. Because if someone would show me something, I would do it maybe once or twice, but just as you say, I would immediately question it, and then I just didn't feel like doing that technique anymore, and I was curious to find out something else, which made me very inconsistent in my methods, but consistent in my search for the better way, right? So
in finding some kind of position. That's what I mean
exactly,
with position.
exactly, right? So how much do you think of that is personality versus you knowing, having calculated, I am going to work this way because it's going to be like the best way of working compared to... How much does it come natural, and how much of it is just rationalized, do you think?
I think it's of course some personality thing. Of course, it's also relying on, or depending on how you grow up, what values you learn, what the way you are socialized. If you and it's completely, for me, it's completely okay to have this kind of as many different approaches. I really like having many different approaches that keep this thing with it. If it is only one direction and all doing the same, why should I do it? Then that's the dull thing again. Of course, I won't say it is wrong to do it this way. If you feel comfortable with repeating 40 years the same thing, and if you feel fine in what you're doing, if you feel happy with it, well, please do it. That's the thing I really learned at university, not to do what others want me to do, just to find out what I really want.
Yes.
It took me a long time. At this moment, I think this is what I really want.
Yeah.
It might change again because I cannot see the future. But this is something that drives me day and night. And it comes from deep inside of me. And this is the reason I do it. And if you do it, let's say, from the book or from your teacher, and you repeat again, and you just stick to your methods. Well, it's also okay. Why not? If it satisfies you, okay. Then it's. I won't say this is wrong, because I don't like wrong or right. It's not. Even talking to other tailors, it's like, oh, what do you think of this method? Or what? I get asked sometimes, what do you think of my method? Is it okay as long as the outcome makes you feel good? Well, then it's definitely all right.
Yes.
And even if you like gluing the whole 4-part, well, do it if it makes you feel comfortable.
Soak it in epoxy. just
like
do a dip.
Yeah.
Very structured.
Well, if you like that, just do it, please. It's satisfaction to you. So I'm not that guy just damning things. That's
okay. I have another question. So let's say we have Sven, who likes to explore things and always is approaching things with an artistic mindset. Finding the position as we've established, right? If someone would work under you, right, where you don't have one formula and then you teach them and then they do it and then you tell them whether it's good or bad, will they get extremely confused and be like, hey man, you're telling me something else every single time? Or will they just absolutely love it and be like, I can do all these different things, or something that I haven't mentioned? How would that be? How would it be to work with someone who likes to explore, right?
This is something I cannot tell you. You have to ask them. But I would definitely try to offer the widest range of possibilities. Every book I have, every knowledge I have, I would offer them all, because it's a bit like, again, like at the academy, you start doing things, and if you feel like I have to improve my lithography skills, you go to that studio and practice. And the same here. If you feel comfortable with this method, practice, and if you feel not that comfortable, I offer you another way. It's as many paths as possible. I think this is a key. I experienced that. This is what I personally experienced, and this is what I really enjoyed. All the possibilities that were given to me. And I try to do the same, even though it might be confusing. But this is something I have to ask the apprentice later.
Do you have an apprentice at the moment?
I have no apprentice, because I have a very small studio, and I'm still establishing this kind of studio. So I definitely want to share this knowledge later, because it's something I had no chance at this time when I started. I after university, I spoke to several tailors, and I tried. At the very first point, I tried to start an apprenticeship. I talked to my wife and said, if then now. And I tried to find a tailor who everyone said, oh, no, not now, maybe in 3 to 5 years, call me back, or no. So it was really difficult. So I was a bit more forced to continue the way I worked. At the end, it was great, but I would like to offer this opportunity to almost anyone who, because I had not, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Definitely like to share this. If there was someone here working with me, it would be more like co-working. Maybe I could learn from him.
Right.
I don't know. It's not like I am teaching you things. It's more like a guided self-teaching. Maybe I try to do it that way.
I see. Well, that's a very interesting thing, because it is the case that most of our industry traditionally has a master and apprentice relationship, and it's not always as smooth, that's for sure, and sometimes it goes in all directions. But this one, what you say is, you rather help someone to teach themselves rather than to just directly teach them what to do, right?
Maybe this comes from my teaching studies. I don't know. Maybe this is some approach that I learned at university, but this is the way it worked for me, and this is a pretty good way. I think I accepted this. It worked pretty well for me, and I think this is more interesting if you have the experience. You can do this by yourself than just having someone saying you do this and that. It's this is something that maybe triggers. I always use again this technical term, intrinsic motivation. This is something that maybe triggers. I want to trigger intrinsic motivation. If somebody is here working with me, he is here because he wants to be here. He's not forced to be here, and this is something that's the main thing. So if he wants to be here, I should support him in his wishes. So in his intrinsic wishes, and this is, I think, the best way to do it is just to show him all the options, and he's the one to decide what to use. He, she, it is the one to decide what to use. So,
it resonates with me because I think the best tailors are the ones who are actually capable of creating things that, you know, come from thought and experiments and things like that. Whereas, you know, if you're being rehearsing formulas that are given to you, and you bump into some serious trouble, it will be very difficult to solve them. But even if you do solve them, you're going to be very limited in expressing yourself as an artisan, right? Because you haven't developed fully all the different techniques of thinking through a new technique, or you know, deconstructing an older technique and things like that. So what you say resonates with me. Let's talk a little bit about your transition from, you know, working on your own as a new kind of like a newbie, let's say, into setting up your own studio where you're at now, and gaining clients and working with them. And how did that transition go? At what point did you think, I'm ready for the real deal, and I'm willing to take the risk, I can handle this, etc., etc.? And what were the challenges that you faced? Yes.
Okay. I started this studio at 2019. And during that time, my first child, my son, was at the age of 2. Yeah, I think. And I've been thinking about this for a long time, and this was there was a point when I said, now or never, because the kids get older, and there was the idea of maybe we should have another kid or another child. So at a certain point, they are young, they don't need that much money, so it's not that, you know, there was a point when I said, that's what I meant with crossroads. You either go in this direction and you become a state teacher and you get a lot of money and you can live without any financial problems, or you start a risk. And I said, let's go and start a risk, because I always felt that maybe it will be a hell of a feeling when I get 60 years old and think about my past and find out I did something wrong.
Regret.
And during that time, I also thought maybe if I became a teacher, I would be one of the teachers I hated at school. So this is not good for me, not for the kids, not for my kids. So there was a crossroad. And I said, okay, let's start this. This was 2019. And it's also part of my position, if it is a position, if one can say or call it position, that I have no shopping window, no huge studio. As I said, it's 25 square meters, and it has all you need to make more or less good garment. I don't know if my garments are good, but at least I can make with the things I have here. The best thing is on my hand. I have a sewing machines. I use it for the straight seams, and I have a lot of old irons, and this is all you need. And I once told you I'm not this mahogany, brass, metal type of guy, and this is something. I mean, there is in Germany say jeder Topf hat einen Deckel, oder it's a bit like every pot has its own lid, something like this. And this applies to me too, because my clients are from the same type of person. They like the way it is here. If you like the brass, metal, mahogany, you go to Berlin to these more expensive tailors, and it's my clients fit to me, or I fit to my clients. That's the experience I got until now, and this is something really, really nice.
Yes. So how was the? I mean, what were the new things that you hadn't perhaps encountered when you were just on your own, and now that you're on your own and responsible for clients' work, what were the new things for you? The difficult challenges?
Yeah. Well, I at least think I knew a bit how to sew, but all the other things that how to run, how to calculate your finish, all these things were new to me, and are still sometimes troubling me. So I'm not good in all this financial. All this, I don't know the English word for. No, it's not bookkeeping. It's
administration.
Administration, yes, administration is the word I was looking for. All these administrative things, I'm really not good in this.
Right.
And it's really forcing me sometimes, and but you grow and grow, and I think I can manage this too. I have to, otherwise this is not going to work. So,
yes,
this is something I really did not expect. Also, I started without any connection or network, which is also pretty difficult, because I reckon the ordinary normal way is you start an apprenticeship, you learn to know, or you get to know more tailors, you see more clients, you establish some kind of network, and if you want to become self-engaged, then you have some kind of basic infrastructure you can gain from. This is something I did not have, and I am still working on this, and this is really, really difficult. I did not expect it to be that difficult to find clients, because it's the internet is really helpful. This is the best shopping window one can have nowadays, but there's no one's just walking through the city saying, "Oh yes, bespoke tailor, let's jump in and get me a suit." If they're looking or searching for something, they search the internet. So what you need is a very good presentation. I'm not good at this,
right,
and I'm still learning.
When you say presentation, do you mean like setting up a web page or things like that, you mean?
Homepage, the design, the homepage, it must be the most interesting page you can find, because people like the attraction. It's something I really don't like, but this is something I experience. You have to be very fit in this technical. No, I am definitely not. For God's sake,
is that because is it because like you never had interest and now you have to do it, or is it something like it's about the right? I see.
Like, I was not interested in all these digital things, and still I have problems. Sometimes I feel like like my father using his mobile phone. It's a bit like it's right. Something like this. But you have to be really fit in this 21st century. For God's sake, Anna is pretty fit. She's helping me all the time, and if people just they just get to know you by other people talking about you. This is a very long process, and then you have to think of, now there's a new tailor, but it takes you even longer to to take the risk to go to a new tailor.
Yes.
Which is the second period that takes. It's a really long process, because if you go to a new tailor, you need some kind of, you need to trust him in any way. You see his work, but you don't know.
Yeah.
It could be some kind of facade or some kind of. You really don't know if it is good or bad. If you can work, if you can go this way together, if it is this journey, if it is okay, or if you don't like. This is something you have to find out, and this is some pretty. I experienced this is pretty difficult for the people to accept. So what I experienced is that many people who want to buy a suit go to the well-established bigger houses. They have kind of good reputation. I have to build my reputation, and this is difficult, really difficult. Takes really long. You need a lot of endurance, stamina, maybe. And this is why I said you have to be resilient in any kind of way, because this is not 90% not the way you want it to be. It is always going some completely different. And of course, I have been a bit naive or blue-eyed at the beginning. I thought, let's just out, man. It will be fine, and people will know me after. You have to work for this too. And when I started studying arts, the professors told us, there's only 2% of you who will later be able to earn money with it. The other, and about 80% of your work will be administrative work. He said, well, good for a first semester. It's really nice to hear that, but it is a lot of work to do all these administrative things. Taxes. I had no idea about taxes. Even this Brexit thing makes it worse. So, these are the things I did not expect to be that difficult and that long term. So tailoring.
Yes. Well, here's the thing. Like these are the unexpected things that we find when we kind of like go for ourselves. And when you're working in a company, someone else is taking care of your salary, or someone is taking care of you. You're just doing what which I guess is one of the reasons that when people do go out on their own, they can get demotivated very quickly, because they're like, I actually wanted to go out on my own so that I could sew all day long, but now what the hell am I doing this weekend, doing all these paperwork, and I don't want to be doing this. And especially when you're a bit delayed or a bit this, and then it all adds up. Right. Okay. I'd like to do speed round.
Speed round. I'm very good. Okay. Yes.
I have a couple of words. You tell me the first thing that pops up your mind. Okay.
But I'm really slow at speed rounds.
It's okay. Well, as long as it's the first thing that's in your mind. So let's see how it goes. The unknown.
I don't know.
Great. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Made to measure.
I don't like it. Made to measure. Yeah. Dull.
Dull. Ready to wear.
Even more dull.
Satan himself.
Well, okay, just stop here. I don't want to damn it, because if you have a normal body, and it's completely okay, but this is my personal. I don't want to damn these things. Okay.
No, that's okay. Yeah. Of course.
They are pretty sharp looking, made to measure and ready to wear suits. And pretty sharp looking guys, but normally these people don't go to bespoke tailor. Okay, sorry, speed round. No,
that's okay. We're not compressing complicated subjects into one word. I understand. I mean, there's a lot to say about ready to wear, but it's just the first thing that pops up your mind. Could be something else if it was asked tomorrow. So, risk.
Yeah, risk. I love it. Risk. I'm so slow in speed rounds. Risk. Give it to me. I need a word to reply. This is not a speed run, right? This is not the okay.
Sure.
Can we start again?
Yeah. So what kind of word are you looking for?
Actually, I don't know. Risk is I would say I love risks
Yeah.
because they keep things open and vivid. But this is
Yeah.
not how speedrun
No,
works.
it's okay. Don't worry, man. I mean, so what about Risk the board game? Any affiliation
Risk,
with that? The board game.
risk board game. You mean
Yeah, yeah.
risk? Risk. I don't play board games.
Okay. I did see a nice photo on your Instagram with all the battle irons and ships laid out.
The first thing that
It
popped up in my mind
reminded
when I
me.
flew to the floor, it was a bit like the Battle of the Nile. That was the first thing that popped up in my mind. It was like battleships in some kind of.
Yes.
I have some kind of strange humor. I do agree. It's sometimes difficult to
I
understand my
loved it,
humor.
man.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay.
The very
So
very okay.
work-life balance.
Very important. I'm still searching for it.
Okay. Okay. Do you think it can be found being a self-employed tailor?
Of course, but it
Okay.
takes time. It takes time. It takes a lot of time because at the beginning there's so many things that keep you stressed, under
Yeah.
stress. So it's really at this moment. I told you before. I'm 80% with my mind. I'm 80% doing my work,
Yeah.
and my family does feel the same. So work-life balance is very important, and I'm still searching for it.
I can imagine. Well, you see, people do say that. I mean, there are different philosophies about this, but you say it's extremely important, and you need to have it, especially if you have a family, you have 2 kids, and then some people say, you cannot have it because if you decide to set something up for yourself and you want to excel at it and achieve that, it has to be like all in. I'd like to know whether there is a middle ground, and if there was, how that would look for perhaps different individuals, or for. I mean, I don't know. Tailoring is a strange thing. This is something I've said before to other people I was chatting to. Is we like to have days off, to have rest, and to see go someplace, or be with our family. But then, at least for most tailors, when we do have a day off, we start to make things for ourselves. It's like, do you experience that as well?
Of course. It's pretty common. Almost everyone, almost everyone I know asks the same question. Oh, you're a tailor, so your wife, your kids, all the things you wear are yours. And I said, almost. Now I have a few. I have some trousers.
Yeah.
I do not make shirts. I don't like sewing shirts.
Sure.
And I like sewing. I have 1 or 2 suits, but of course I have to work for others. And if there is one day off, of course my family says, "Come here."
Yeah.
Don't go there. And that's the work-life balance thing. It seems so easy to others not to be at work, but if it really comes from your inside, then I really sometimes I really catch myself in the morning or during day. It's like being in a parallel world. I'm at home playing with my kids, and no, I'm not at home. I'm at the studio. Why is this bloody drag there?
Yeah.
Well, I just did not finish the work I wanted to finish yesterday night.
Yeah.
So these things come. It's really if you're self-employed, it's really difficult for me. Maybe others can do better. I'm pretty sure they do better. But for me, it's really difficult to get out of this studio and to get really out of the studio.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Tailoring books.
Important. Because it's knowledge. It's conserved and safe knowledge. And some of them is rubbish, but you have to find out. Others will say this is not rubbish. What you're doing is completely wrong, and this is also okay. But for me, this is the source of the thing, the fundamental source of how I started. So, how could this not be important to me?
Yes, of course. Efficiency.
And I have books dating back to the 1820 or so. They survived two dark periods in man's history. So, of course, some are in good shape, some are in very bad, poor shape. But this is safe knowledge.
Yes, I mean it's our ancestry, right? Our professional ancestry.
A bit of professional ancestry. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Efficiency.
Ooh, I told you I'm not good in that. Efficiency. Poor would be the word I would.
Okay.
Bounce back to.
The most annoying thing about tailoring.
Repetition.
Right, repetition. This is very interesting. The best thing about tailoring.
My hands, they do some strange things. The best things about tailoring is my hands, because they sometimes do things the head don't want them to do, and at the end it's really interesting to see what's going on. It's the hands.
Yeah.
Sometimes they just they are, there is a connection between head and hands. Of course, they do what the head wants them to do, but sometimes they're not capable. They're not capable. Sometimes they're
capable.
They're not really capable to do. Capable, exactly. Thank you very much.
Sure.
They're not capable to 100% do what. And at the end, it's really interesting. Hands.
Yeah. Okay. Tailoring schools.
Important as books.
Important as book. Okay.
Important as books. Every kind of knowledge source is important to me. In Germany, it's a bit after the war. There was only a few years later. There was only one real system. It's the 60s, 70s Rundschau, Müller and Sohn, Müller and Son. Nowadays, it's the only system. And before the war, and there were so many different systems. Of course, they did some things the same or most the same, but at the end, after the war, they took everything they had and that was incorporated into one system.
Yes.
So this is also something that leads to some kind of conformity. Can one say conformity?
Yeah.
Can you say that? Because I'm pretty sure most of the tailors here use this kind of system, and that's maybe, and of course the industry does use it, and that's maybe one more reason they have some kind of similar shapes and styles. And
I see.
If there is a tailoring school in Germany, it's definitely the Müller and Son tailoring school. I would love to see more schools as it was before.
From your experience, because I think this is going to be helpful for a lot of people looking at patterns. You had Rundschau in Germany and Müller and Sohn. What would you say is the main difference, if you would name out any between them for people thinking of trying?
I am not, and this is now really again my very personal point of view. I'm not so pleased with the recent Rundschau drafts, because
the recent ones, you say.
Rundschau is the same. It's Müller and Sohn, which is München, Müller and Sohn. It's the same like this. Yeah. And after the war, there was some more like the Schneidermeister system, and they all have been incorporated to this Müller Sohn. If you know these systems, you see they have the same, or they use this idea and they took this and they incorporated this into their designs, and up to the 70s. So the golden age of this is if you have the chance to get books or magazines from the Rundschau, or then it is the 60s, late 60s, early 70s until mid 70s. These are the very, for me, very, very, of course, very German, very technically developed, but with a good shape. And of course, there were the 80s. And I have sometimes the feeling that these today drafts, they reproduce things I consider to be wrong. They simply reproduce it, or this is, how can I say it? This is, if I could recommend them, I would say use these books from, or magazines from the 60s, 70s. This is from the 50s, also okay. But if you work like this, it will be a disappointment, because the fabrics change, the materials change, the works, your tools changed, and this applies to 50s style and 50s heavy cloth, and not to nowadays. So I would say use the 70s, 60s, late 60s, early mid 70s Rundschau.
Right.
I do have lots of them here, and of course this is repetition again. Once you have the basic draft, it's a very good start off. And there is a difference between these recent and the old ones. The old ones had seam allowances in the system. Now the moderns don't have seam allowance anymore. Some tailors like, some tailors dislike it. I draw with seam allowances and add lace later. And this is how I used to, and this is how I like it. Many don't like it. They draft net, and the modern reasons are mostly net.
Yeah, true. Okay,
This is something you have to keep in mind when it comes to ease, or to if you draw them and you don't check whether there's a seam allowance or not. It might be a bit confusing later on. It might be skin fit.
Yeah. Not good. Okay, and I think, what was it? I have two more apprenticeships.
I definitely like to have an apprentice, really, but not now, since it is still a very the situation is not solid. Can you say it's still, I don't know where it's going. And there is simply no room at the moment for an apprentice here. If there was an apprentice here, if there was someone just asking me to come to their home or flat just to, I do this, why not? I mean, I would have loved the same, but at the moment there's no space for an apprentice.
Okay. The future of
something I really would love to have one day.
Yeah. Okay.
The two or more.
Huh? Two more. Yeah. Okay. The future of tailoring is the last one.
What
the future of tailoring?
Oh, vivid.
Vivid.
Yeah, vivid. I hope so, because there's so many new materials, and I do see so many interesting new patterns and cuts and ideas, and I think vivid. I think it'll be pretty interesting future. I experienced that the last year, many more, especially young at my age, or in the mid-20s, mid-30s, they are interested in tailored garments, and they are young. They have fresh ideas, and they don't. Sometimes I'm really sure they don't stick to the old boxes. Of course, they have interests like the 30s or 20s, and this is a different kind of fashion. But many of them are at least interested in bespoke tailoring, and they show their interest, and they dress up better than their parents, at least here in Germany. And this is something I really enjoy. I don't know where this is going to lead us. I don't know where this is generally going, but at least this is something I experience.
What sort of tailoring do you like yourself? What are the styles that you are kind of like trying to achieve yourself, but also enjoy seeing?
I really don't like the garments too close to my body, because the slim fit fashion of the last years, of course, I really don't like this. I have clients who want it as slim as possible, and I most of the time I'm successful to convince them to do something, to have a bit more room, because this is, I experience, simply more comfortable, and it looks better than all these very thin, skinny, draggy. I like a clean. That's the thing I really enjoy about tailoring, is it's modeling a clean silhouette, and I like a high waist. I put my waist pretty high, higher than the natural waist, really high. I like the closing button pretty high. But this is also a question of your client's body. If the body, you can do things worth with a high. It's depending on how your client is, on how the body is made. So way to put the waist. But in generally, on my suits, I'm not too heavy. I put the waist pretty high. So I have not the longest. I have some kind of short legs, so this makes the legs a bit longer looking. So it's depending on what you want to achieve and how your body looks like, I guess.
Yes. Okay. Well, I think that's a good place to round it up. I mean, we could be talking for like hours for sure.
Yeah,
I think
my English is not that. I told you my English is not that good, but I could talk. Maybe we could talk again later.
Yes, I'm sure we're gonna have like a part 2 of this conversation where we dive into some other things. But as for now, I'd like to thank you for sharing your thoughts and your wisdom for people watching and the things you've experienced. And I look forward to the next conversation. Thanks, Sven.
Thank you, Riza. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And that was Sven. I hope you all enjoyed the conversation and found things in it that were inspiring to you. I remember one day someone walked into our shop when I was working on Savile Row, or the shop that I was working at, and he had a white linen suit, I guess it was, and it had pagoda shoulders, and a lot of work had gone into it, and you could see it. And we asked him where he learned tailoring, and he said, I learned it from a few books. Now, this wasn't Sven, this was someone else, but nobody believed him. Nobody, some people even laughed at him, and they said it wasn't possible. Now, surely I think it is possible after seeing the things that Sven has made and the journey he's had to go through to get where he is currently right now. So I hope the best for him. And if you do like to see more of Sven, you can follow the link to his Instagram page in the description of this video. If you have any thoughts, comments, or any remarks, please let us know, and I sure hope to see you again in the next episode. Until then, bye-bye.